Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie, and today I'm going to be showing you Apocalypse's newest collection called Fallout Glitter Never Changes. This is going to be launching on Friday, February 27th at 9 a.m. and hopefully this will be up before then. I'm so sorry if it is a little bit late, but this is obviously inspired by Fallout, the video game and now a TV series. As you can see, it is a pretty big collection. We have 8 polishes in these mainly shimmery, glittery kind of formulas, but I do also have their Unlucky in Love duo that came out for Friday the 13th. These two are currently sold out, but I believe they should be restocked, so I'll have everything in the description box down below, but for now, let me just show you the swatches. Starting with the Unlucky in Love duo, the first polish is Love Is A Wasteland, and it's described as a maroon glitter bomb with a cranberry base, maroon holographic micro glitters, and violet and pink holographic micro flakes. I personally don't really see the maroon color to this. I would have called this a very dark hot pink, maybe like a magenta sort of shade, but the formula itself was really nice. As you saw, very packed with glitter and shimmers on the first coat alone, and it was basically fully opaque in just 2 coats. And the other half of the duo is called the Brotherhood of Stealing Hearts, which is actually a magnetic, but I forgot about that, so I'm swatching it unmagnetized first. I will be showing it magnetized at the end, but this is described as having a black jelly base with gold reflective glitter, as well as a subtle magnetic shimmer that shifts between red, black, and lavender, which you'll be able to see a bit easier once I magnetize it, especially in the cat eye effect, but even in regular indirect or extreme lighting, you can see that shift to red from the shimmer. It is super gorgeous. The formula itself was lovely. It was so highly pigmented on the first coat alone, despite being described as a black jelly, and it was fully opaque in just 2 coats. Since it is super packed with those gold reflective glitters, I would recommend using a peel-off base coat as well as a glitter grabber smoothing kind of top coat. I would say under normal lighting, you do see some glimpses of that gold glitter, but obviously it's going to shine under flash. And then here are the magnetic states with the cat eye effect on the left and the velvet effect on the right. It is a little bit of a softer, subtle magnetic, but still pretty. Now moving on to the Fallout collection, the first shade we have is Fallout, and it's described as a blue polish with a shimmer that shifts between orange, pink, gold, and green, as well as silver holographic microflakes. This had another super stunning formula, very full coverage, highly pigmented on the first coat, as you can see here. I do love how the orange shimmer stands out, but it is a bit subtle in comparison to the holographic flakies, so those really take over, but in a good way. I would say it's still a very sparkly polish, but I wish the shimmer stood out the way that it does in the bottle because it is super gorgeous. The good news though is that it is really striking in more extreme lighting where you see that shift all the way to green. Next up we have Glitter. Glitter Never Changes, and this one is described as a bright gold glitter bomb that has warm gold holographic micro glitters and gold holographic micro flakes. Similar to the last polish, it had such an impeccable formula, again very full and even coverage on the first coat. It is a touch sheer because it has a more jelly leaning kind of base, but as you can see it's just super highly pigmented, super packed with the glitter, so it pretty much is fully opaque again in just 2 coats alone. Just to not repeat myself for the rest of the video, for the whole collection I would recommend a peel-off base and a glitter grabber top coat. Then we have Feeling a Little Ghoulish, which is a baby pink that has a multi-chrome shimmer shifting from green to maroon. I thought that was an interesting color description. I mean, obviously I see the baby pink base and the greenish shimmer that you can see head on here, but I just don't see the extreme shift to maroon necessarily. I would just say it's more of a darker pink or fuchsia kind of color, but either way, the formula again was so lovely, very much the same as the other shades so far, where it's highly pigmented, really nice and even coverage. I found this one to be a little bit more sheer on the second coat where you see that whisper of nail line, but I just didn't think it was enough to warrant a third. Next we have Okey Dokey, and this is a blue jelly base that has gold holographic microflakes, which I would say are those crescent moon-shaped glitters. So they are an irregular size similar to traditional flakies, but they're very uniform at the same time. This one is a little deceiving in the bottle because it is that jelly base, so it looks super dark in the bottle compared to what you see on the nail, but it does build up in color with the more coats that you do. I would say it is pretty self-leveling for the most part. I think I got a little bit of pooling towards the sides of my nails, so you might see that's a little bit darker there. So I probably just had too much polish on the brush, but I didn't find it to be very streaky or anything either. I think it looks pretty great on 2 coats because you do build up that gorgeous blue color, but my preference is with a 3rd coat just because it deepens it a little bit more. Not quite as deep as what you see in the bottle, but it's still very pretty. Up next we have Radioactive, and this is described as a golden green glitter bomb that has gold to green shimmer and lime green holographic micro glitters. I really love this one. I just love the shade of green. It is so gorgeous to me, and again, it had a fantastic full coverage formula. I was just so impressed with the first swipe alone. I feel like it's not accurately capturing how glitzy those little shimmers are. This one has such a beautiful sparkle in real life, and again, I would say it's fully opaque in 2 coats. Another favorite of mine is Quantum Cooler, which is described as an icy blue glitter bomb that has blue shimmer, blue holographic microflakes, and frosty blue holographic glitters. This is another one that just had my jaw on the floor when I did that first swipe. It's not as full coverage as some of the other polishes. You can see a little bit more through to my bare nail underneath, but again, it does build up to be basically fully opaque in just the 2 coats, and I am obsessed with the color of this one. I love the shade of blue. I love all these sparkly elements in here. It is just so pretty. I feel like it's such a perfect icy glitzy winter blue, and as a seasonal wearer, it breaks my heart I'm gonna have to wait until December to wear this again. Next up we have The House Always Wins, which I think I'm going to call a topper, but I am going to be showing this on its own first because I thought it had a little bit of a grayish jelly base, but as you can see here on the first coat, there's no base color at all. You just see that really intense purple to pink red aurora shimmer in the background. There's also some purple to green multi-chrome flakes, as well as these ultra chrome chameleon purple to blue to green shifting flakies. So basically there's 2 different sets of flakies in here. One looks a little bit more opaque and metallic, while the other is a bit more glowy and iridescent. Despite it being very sheer, I did like how it looked once it was built up in 3 coats just because of how intensely layered all of those flakies are. Again, it's not full coverage because it's a topper, but your nail line is pretty obscured for the most part, at least if you have shorter nails. I think this can work as a standalone shade. With longer nails, you might want to use a blurring base coat or just layer this over a very light gray or even like a sheer pink just to help obscure your nail line. But as I mentioned, I am going to be showing this as a topper, so here it is in 1 coat over white, gray, and black. And rounding out the collection, we have Sidetracked by Bullshit, which is described as a flaky bomb that has multi-chrome red to black shimmer, multi-chrome flakies that shift from red to black, and tons of black and blue light reflective glitters. I would say this is also in a lightly tinted black jelly base, so you can see on the first coat it is densely packed with all of those little elements, but the base is tinted enough where I personally wouldn't call this a topper. I guess it could work though if you layer it over darker colors, but I think it just looks a lot better once it's built up on its own. down, especially because if you were to layer this over a black, for example, to build it up to be fully opaque easier, you end up losing all of those little black micro flakies and glitters. So yeah, I think this looks really great on the two coats because the base is still a little sheer where you see the difference between the base and the glitters. The third coat makes it look a lot more full coverage, almost more opaque leaning. So it really just depends on your preference for what you want for your coverage. But either way, I really enjoyed this one, especially how those blue reflective glitters glowed. And here is my thumb swatch collage of the collection, so you can see the whole color story all together. Definitely a lot of blues in here, but I also like the brighter pops of color. Moving on to comparisons, we're starting with Love Is A Wasteland and looking at it next to Holo Taco's Bless Your Heart and Finding Feathers, The Audacity, both of which are these hot pink glitter bombs. You may have recently seen me already compare the Holo Taco to the Finding Feathers, so I would say that the Apocalypse is kind of an in-between of these two, where it's not as densely packed with the glitters as Holo Taco, especially with those larger chunky glitters. It kind of is a bit more base heavy, which makes it look similar to the Audacity. And for another dark hot pink magenta glitter bomb, I have Mooncat's Gravity Hold Me Back, which I would say is more of a true glitter bomb, while Apocalypse has some glitters in it. So they might not be exact dupes, but they are really close color-wise at least. Next, for the Brotherhood of Stealing Hearts, this one immediately reminded me of Tyler's Trinkets collab shade with Nail Daddy called Midnight Ride, which is a black jelly base filled with these golden reflective glitters. It doesn't have this multi-chrome or magnetic element though, so that made me think of Sassy Sauce's Wicked Sorcery, which is a black base with a lavender to red shifting multi-chrome magnetic pigment. So I just showed it unmagnetized there, but under flash I have it magnetized and with a layer of CX Polish's Fallen Stars, which is just a gold reflective glitter topper. Doing one coat of it wasn't as densely packed as the Apocalypse, but you can just do another coat and recreate it. Then for Fallout, I wanted to first show this next to Fauve's Cobalt Sky, which is a cobalt blue magnetic kind of polish. It's pretty bright and similar in the base, but the shimmers are very different. Some other blue bases with a coppery orange shimmer were Sylvanclaw's Pond-ering, which also has these little blue holographic glitters. And since Fallout has this holographic flaky, it kind of gave me a crushed hollow vibe, so I pulled out Holo Taco's Blue Rizzler. But the hollow flakies in that are a lot more subtle or just a lot tinier, so they don't stand out as much as Fallout. And it's also a different shade of blue with more of a pink shimmer, so I would say Pond-ering is a bit closer, but it is still lighter and more sheer. Next for glitter, Glitter Never Changes. This one reminded me of Holo Taco's Gold Play Button, which was one of their original holiday Christmas glitters. This one is a very similar color in terms of that really intense gold. Maybe it's a shade or two darker, not as yellow as the Apocalypse, and it also has a slightly chunkier glitter mix. Next, for Feeling a Little Ghoulish, it kind of reminded me of a couple of cracked pinks. So first I pulled out Pink Velvet, which is one of their glazed donut kind of finishes, but as you can see, it's a little bit more of a muted pink shade. A recent brighter pink is Heart-Shaped Necklace, which has that sort of bubblegum pink color. It's not as warm or mid-tone of a shade as the Apocalypse, and neither of the cracked shades have a green shimmer. So when it comes to a pink base with a green shimmer, I figured I could show this next to Polish for Days, You're Gonna Be Popular. The Polish for Days does have a little bit of that brighter, almost bubblegum pink color similar to Heart-Shaped Necklace. It's also a bit more sheer, and while it does have a green shimmer, it's not as soft yellowy green as what you see in Apocalypse. It's more of like a true green and a bit more glowy too. And lastly, this Apocalypse shade reminded me of Morgan Taylor's Hugs and Blisses from, I believe it was last year's spring collection, which is a pinky pearl kind of color. I thought they kind of looked similar in the bottle, but on the nail they are wildly different, so definitely not dupes. Next for Okey Dokey, the blue jelly base of this kind of has a peacock color to it, so it kind of reminded me of something like Starry's Bluefire jelly or ILNP's Midnight Ink. So I'm going to be showing these in 1 and 2 coats so you can get an idea of their coverage and differences in color. You can probably tell just from the bottle alone that Midnight Ink is super dark. It's definitely not as sheer as Okey Dokey or Starrily. So I would say Starrily is the closest, especially in terms of color, but once you build it up into a second coat, you can see how much more pigmented it is, while Okey Dokey is a lot more sheer. Since Okey Dokey has like a drop of green in it, I thought it might be worth showing it next to ILNP's Turquoise Waters or Cirque's Curaçao jelly, which are much more true turquoise shades. So hopefully you can see the differences here where neither of these are dupes. So I would say the closest jelly that I have to this is Cirque's Indigo jelly, which is a very deep indigo blue. It definitely has that truer blue shade, while again Okey Dokey has that drop of green, so they are slightly different. But if you have that one gold flaky topper from Holo Taco, I feel like you could recreate it. Next for Radioactive, I knew I had to show this next to Holo Taco's Stop Buggin from their camping collection. It's that super tiny micro metallic flaky finish. It doesn't have any additional shimmer or hollow, but it is kind of close visually, but I would say that it's a few shades darker in terms of the green color. And color-wise, I thought that Crack's Boujee Emerald was pretty close to Radioactive, but that one has a much more sheer, jelly kind of base, so on the nail, it's not quite the same, although depending on the lighting, you can see the way that the shimmer glows looks kind of similar to Apocalypse. For some other bright, glittery kind of shimmery greens, I pulled out Sylvanclaw's Bryo-phyte Me, as well as Mooncat's Serpents of Eden. Sylvanclaw is more of that glitter shimmer kind of combination formula, although it has these larger glitter pieces. It's not as uniform as what you see in Radioactive, where it honestly kind of looks like a shimmer. So I think visually Mooncat looks a little closer to that, especially with that much glowier green shimmer, but it does have a darker green base. Since Serpents of Eden was a little too dark, I thought maybe Radioactive would be closer to Holo Taco's Peridon't Bother Me, which is a brighter green, but that one has a bit more of a stronger golden yellow shimmer to it, making it more of a lime green, while Radioactive is like a Granny Smith apple green. So that finally made me think of Holo Taco's Sour Note, which is a crushed hollow, and it does also have a pinkish kind of shimmer, so obviously the shimmer is the big difference here, but I would say the base colors are really close. Maybe Sour Note is a little bit lighter, or I don't know, it's just not as vibrant as Radioactive. Then for Quantum Cooler, I wanted to show this next to This Is Why I Don't Go Camping, which is another vibrant blue micro glitter in like their traditional micro glitter formula. Obviously, Quantum Cooler is also a micro glitter, but it is a little bit more with a pigmented base and a shimmer in the background as well. But either way, the shades of blue are very different, so they're not dupes. For reference, I did want to show this next to some Holo Taco glitters like Frostlight and Waterworks. Quantum Cooler is kind of an in-between of these two, but again, just a totally different shade of blue because Frostlight is a little too soft, almost cornflower leaning, and Waterworks is a bit darker. So then I remembered I had 8-bit blues, which is kind of that perfect in-between, but this is in Holo Taco's chunky glitter formula. It doesn't have as much of this pigmented base or even a shimmer in the background, so the colors might look similar in the bottle, but on the nail they do look pretty different. Since Quantum Cooler has that strong shimmery kind of base, I figured I could show it next to some other strong shimmery blues, including Lurid's Potholes Trail as well as Prison Parade's Ice Queen. Potholes Trail has more of that greenish shimmery glow, so it is a bit different that way. I would say the Prison Parade is much closer with that blue on blue glow, but it's obviously missing the glitter, so I figured I could do one coat of 8-bit blues on top of that, and it kind of recreates the vibe. Next for The House Always Wins, I wanted to show this next to Glitch's Astral Glass and Mooncat's Triceratops, which are these gray bases with iridescent flakies. The Glitch is actually a magnetic, but leaving it unmagnetized as seen in the bottle, it kind of has a similar vibe, but a much more true gray base, the same as the Mooncat. Since the Apocalypse has such a strong purple shimmer, it also kind of reminded me of Mooncat's The Diabolical Mojo Jojo from their Powerpuff Girls collab, especially because it also has these iridescent flakies as well as these black flakies that kind of look like the multichrome flakes in Apocalypse. But since the Apocalypse is a topper, I had to layer it over 2 coats of Cirque's Ube jelly, which is a little too light and cool toned to compare to the Mooncat, but you can kind of recreate the Mooncat with this. And lastly, for Sidetracked by Bullshit, this kind of reminded me of a couple of Holo Taco shades. So first I pulled out Off the Grid, which is another magnetic, but leaving it unmagnetized, like seeing them in the bottle, they kind of have a similar vibe. And I also wanted to show this next to Holo Taco's Existential Crisis because it has a similar reddish kind of glowy shimmer, although that one is in a very darkened teal jelly base, but once you layer it up, it kind of looks really dark. And both Holo Tacos are much more opaque in the 2 coats as seen here, while the Apocalypse is more sheer, and neither Holo Taco has blue reflective glitter. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons of Apocalypse's Fallout Glitter Never Changes collection. As always, I would love to know what you think of this release because I really enjoyed it. And I'm saying this as somebody who isn't even familiar with Fallout. I've never played the game. I haven't watched the show, even though I have heard great things about them. So part of me is a bit bummed that I'm not like fully getting the references and everything. But hopefully that goes to show that even if you aren't a fan or familiar with the show, the polishes are still so beautiful. I really loved how glitzy and sparkly all of these were, and I mean, formula-wise, they are pretty much what I've come to expect from Apocalypse at this point. As you might know, I'm a big fan of their micro glitter bombs, and while these polishes weren't specifically in that finish, I just love that they're still really glittery. I know I've shared a lot of blues lately on my channel, but I can't help but think that Quantum Cooler is my favorite from this lineup. I thought it was so jaw-dropping when I put it on. I also really loved Fallout, just the combination of like the blue base, that cozy warm orange shimmer. I mean, they're complementary colors, so it makes sense that they're gonna look nice together, but I don't know, I'm just really feeling them. And I honestly was pretty surprised by how much I loved Radioactive because I thought it was basically gonna be a dupe for Holo Taco Stop Buggin, which I don't really love that finish from Holo Taco. And while they might look similar on the nail, like they have that same sort of visual texture, there was something about the Apocalypse one that I just liked a lot more. I mean, obviously this one is a much lighter and more vibrant shade of green, so I think that's definitely winning me over. But I think there is just like that extra sparkle or dazzle on the nails compared to the Holo Taco one, in my opinion. Another sort of surprise favorite was The House Always Wins, because you might know that I have like a weird thing with flakies. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. And for this polish, I thought it was so beautiful. Granted, I do wish it was more of like a true buildable polish as opposed to a topper. I think I still want to experiment with finding like the perfect gray base to mimic what you see in the bottle, but I just really love the color combination in that. It was just so striking. So yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts on this release. Again, I would love to hear yours down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!